Cynthia chomping away, looking classy like that.
I just entered house 10
Oh, no,
minutes
no,
ago.
nobody's judging. Nobody's judging. All good. Here, spotlight.
Hmm. It is 7 o'clock, and good evening to all my fellow Toastmasters, and welcome as well as to the guests, and welcome to the 141st meeting of the BKC Fireflies. 9 meetings away from the landmark 150th meeting, and I hope to see you all for that celebration as we commence towards the 150th meeting. My name is Sandhya Krishnan, and I am the Sergeant at Arms. It is my pleasure to officially call the 141st meeting to order. I would like to begin by announcing the club mission. We provide a very supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. It is important for me today to also highlight the core values because this is something that we are driven by, and it is important for us to imbibe it in us whenever we are committing to during these meetings. It's just twice in the month. First is integrity. So we match our actions with our words, demonstrate honesty and trustworthiness, communicate with sincerity and thoughtfulness, have the courage to acknowledge our mistakes, and always strive to do the right thing. Second, respect. We treat all with dignity, welcome diverse perspectives, acknowledge all contributions, believe that all have positive intent, practice mutual accountability, and critic, but never demean. Third is service. We strive to provide high value, exceptional support by being responsive, attentive, and passionate in fulfilling our duties as individuals and as an organization to all. And the fourth one is excellence. We consistently strive to meet and exceed expectations by upholding the Toastmasters promise, nurturing a collaborative environment, innovating to deliver creative solutions, and optimizing quality to produce superior services. Along with this, a few online meeting hygiene factors that I will first follow myself, which is keep your phone or anything that makes a noise, including your children, on mute or away from the screen, unless you are asked to speak to or you have a role to play. Against your name, please use the role that you are playing on your display so that people understand and it becomes easier for Toastmaster Sai to highlight you and put you on what do you call that, Sai?
Spotlight.
Spotlight, right. Keep your cameras on if you are in front of your device so that people, when they're speaking, they can look at you and look at your expressions. But if you are moving or if you're in front of your laptop, phone, pad, please keep yourself off the video and then move out. And yeah, I think that's about it. And we're ready to roll. So we do not, of course, one last one, which is the very, very important one. During the course of our meeting, we do not speak about sex, religion, and politics. So please refrain from touching upon those topics. And if you have included them in your speech, then you will have to edit it online. Thank you so much. And over to you, the master of the ceremonies for the day. Toastmaster of the day. Sorry, the presiding officer of the day. I am extremely sorry. Some or the other error. Oh no. Over to you, the presiding officer of the day, Toastmaster Sai.
Thank you very much, Madam Sa. Cynthia has been a revelation as the Sa. She always brings positivity and she always starts on time, which I'm at an age where when people start late, it starts to bother me. And Cynthia has been very good for my blood pressure. Let me just put it like that. So thank you, Cynthia, for the work you do as the Sergeant at Arms, the cheerfulness you bring to it, and the attention to detail, and the extra X factors you throw in once in a while, like your little segue into the IRSC, the Toastmaster credo that you discussed with us. Thank you so much for the work you do. We are in meeting number 141. We have people who I have never met before. So I'm going to quickly jump in and ask if our guests, Rupal and Rati, and I guess we're going to hear from Gandhar anyway, and Sanish also. So we're going to let that go for now. But I see Rati joining us. Rati, why don't I add to the spotlight, and you can tell us what brought you to a BKC Fireflies meeting?
Yeah, I am from Thane Toastmasters group. I saw the message in the Mumbai Toastmasters group, and I had nothing to do in the evening. So I thought, why not learn something new from you people? So I am here. Hi.
Yes, and you've chosen to attend a session, which is an education session. So there's going to be a lot
Yes,
of
that's very important. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Toastmaster Gandhar is going to do a great job, I'm sure. Thank you so much for joining us. And which you said you were with Thane Toastmasters. So let me ask you the hardest question that a Toastmaster can be asked. Have you chosen your pathways? Have you finished your levels? Are you helping your club achieve?
I have recently joined. I have given my second speech in level 1 yesterday itself.
Oh, wow. And how was the evaluation? Were you happy with the evaluation?
Yeah.
All right. Very nice. Very nice. Congratulations on stepping up and giving your second speech. All right, Rupal, your video's still off. So I'm going to assume that you don't want to talk to us. Is that a true statement? Oh, your video's turning on. Okay,
Good evening.
Let me
Good
add it to
evening,
the...
all Toastmaster.
Welcome. Are you a Toastmaster yourself?
Yes, I am a part of speakers community.
Do you have a body? Because I can only see your head. Please tell us how you discovered our club and what made you come to our meeting.
Today I saw there is I got a flyer and I got attracted for educational session. Even though I had the office, I took permission and left the office early to attend the session.
This
I hope
no, I just want to point out two things. One,
it will make all sense.
no, it makes absolute sense to, if you feel that something, you're going to learn something and you want to invest in it, makes absolute sense. And I'm glad that you're here. But I just want to point out this puts a little bit of pressure on Gandhar, because there are people leaving their office work, they're taking breaks from work.
Sorry.
No, it's good. That's pressure pressure can work in two ways. Either it can crush you, or the Toastmasters feel, I'm going to say, it can make you into a diamond. And I think we're ready to see Gandhar becoming a diamond today because of the pressure. Well, welcome. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you.
Let me take a minute as the presiding officer to maybe talk about a few things that are coming up in the Toastmasters world. The end of June is going to be the end of the current Toastmasters year, which started on July 1st, 2023, and will end on June 30th, 2024. So which means that this final few weeks are the end of our term in office as the president and the XCOM of BKC Fireflies. The person I'm going to spotlight next is the person you need to reach out to if you would like to be a part of the incoming XCOM starting July 1st. If you have any interest in growing as a leader, I think Toastmasters is probably the best place to do all those things, because here's a place where even if you make a huge mistake, there's always another meeting coming up where you can rectify it. Let me give you an example. I think Cynthia is going to appreciate this. Cynthia used to have her own interpretations, let's put it like that, of the club mission. But one time somebody called her out on that. And then after that, she's been extremely, extremely particular about saying the club mission correctly. And I think that shows character, the ability to evolve with time. And that's the kind of leadership that Toastmasters will give you. It'll give you a chance. It might hurt you and beat you down, but it'll give you a second chance to recover and improve a second time. And that'll become part of your second nature. And like I said last time, once you get out of Toastmasters and you start observing how other meetings are run and how much slack there is in other meetings, you'll realize that Toastmasters has trained you well. So being part of Toastmasters, either as a speaker or a club member or as a part of the XCOM, there's learning everywhere. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you feel, not just in BKC Fireflies, if you're in your home club, if you find out that there is an election happening and you feel that there is a little bit of fine-tuning of your leadership skills, please reach out to your leadership team and let them know that you want to be part of it. We have some excellent leaders who've evolved from their respective clubs into higher levels of leadership in the Toastmasters fraternity. I think, Sanish, are you part of the district leadership at some point? Were you part of the district leadership at some point? Give me a thumbs up if you were. If you were.
Yes.
See, we have a district leader among us, and he's going to also be part of this meeting in some capacity. Do we have any other guests who joined us after that? Rupal, we've spoken to Nidhi. Mitesh, we haven't heard from you, though you've been a member, you've been attending our meetings every once in a while. But this meeting, we haven't heard from you. So do you want to turn on your camera and tell us a bit about yourself? Or I guess Mitesh is not really listening to us. So maybe he's also waiting for Gandhar. Who knows? Maybe Gandhar is. Let's just put all the pressure on Gandhar and let him deal with having to meet those expectations. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to announce that meeting number 141 is ready for its next stage of takeoff, because the person coming on stage next is the master of ceremonies, the person who's going to lead us through till the end of the meeting, and that happens to be Toastmaster Dr. Sandhya Krishnan, who's also the Vice President of Education of BKC Fireflies and the immediate past president of the club, and the person who you need to reach out to if you want to be part of the Club XCOM. Welcome, everyone, and meeting number 141 is now yours, Sandhya.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer, Toastmaster Sai. Before we get started and we rock and roll for this meeting, I would like all of you to unmute yourself and let's just have a round of applause to each one of us for having decided to come attend this meeting and make the most of the next almost 2 hours. And I promise you, it's going to be a meeting of a lot of learning, some exciting speeches that one can hear, and some feedback. So we'll not just hear feedback, but we will also know how to give feedback. So that's what this meeting is about. Now, there are things that are slightly different in this meeting. I'm not the Toastmaster of the day, as you can see the way that I have named myself. And I would like to call myself the Master of Ceremonies because we are not having a traditional Toastmasters meeting tonight. The reason is that we have an educational session by Toastmaster Gandhar Joshi. More about him will follow later. But because we also want to wrap up the meeting in time, we will not have enough time for table topics. And we also might not have enough time for a full-fledged general evaluation session. Hence, we have a Master of Ceremonies, that is me, who will just make sure that I call upon each role player as their turn arises and introduce you to those roles. So that's my job today as the Master of Ceremonies. We are also not having a formal theme for this meeting. But what all Fireflies should keep in mind, as Toastmaster Sai already mentioned, is that this is the last month of the current XCOM term. So if any of you are still interested in being part of the XCOM, being a leader, and having a greater stake at running the club, then please do reach out to me. We will be happy to consider all of you for an XCOM position in the next term, right? So like I said, this meeting is slightly different. We don't have a table topic session, but what we do have is a prepared speech section. We have 2 prepared speakers tonight. After the prepared speeches, we will have an education session by Toastmaster Gandhar, and then we will have a feedback session for the 2 prepared speeches. So that's going to be the format of the meeting tonight. And in order to support us for this meeting, we have 3 key role players. The first role player you have already met, the person who opened this meeting, the Sergeant at Arms, who is also the timer for this meeting. So Toastmaster Cynthia, you can wear your hat as the timer now and tell us how you will show us the timer cards.
Okay, I'm back. And as a timer, I will be keeping the time for all the speeches, formal speeches that are going to be happening. I will alert each speaker of the time they are left with. So in a 5 to 7 minutes, 5 minutes, you will see a green card on the screen. At 6 minutes, it means that you are qualified. At 6 minutes, you will have a yellow card. It will indicate that, time is up almost. At 6 minutes, sorry, at 7 minutes. So it's 5 to 7. 5 minutes is green card, 6 minutes is yellow card. 7 minutes, once you see the red card, you will have 30 seconds of grace time between the 7 minutes and the 7.5 minutes, within which you have to necessarily complete your speech, or else you will be disqualified. So that's as far as the prepared speeches are concerned. I think that's what you said, right? That there's only prepared speeches.
Yes. So Sandhya, will you be sharing your screen or will you change your
I
background?
will be sharing my screen.
Okay. So
So you will
speakers,
see
please.
the card on my screen, the colors changing.
So speakers, please note the timer will be sharing her screen. The next role player that we have is the R counter, which is Toastmaster Nidhi. Toastmaster Nidhi, could you quickly tell us about your role?
So, good evening, all the gentlemen and the distinguished Toastmasters. A virtual applause to you all. Now, before I start, let's something straight. If my speech seems to be peppered with certain vocal crutch, certain utterance, like a sound, like we're dealing with deflating balloon, fear not. It's not a secret Morse code, nor it's like a sign of distress. It's simply my linguistic seasoning, which is sprinkling over liberally throughout my speech to keep you on your toes. You see, my role tonight is the R counter. Now, some might say it's akin to being a grammar police of verbal hesitations, but I prefer to see it as a guardian of fluent speech, the gatekeeper of the eloquence, and a keeper of our counting beats. So as I armed with my mental tally sheets, I want you all to have an acute ear for every and ah. And I promise to make you count diligently without being judged and with just a tad bit of amusement. So, fellow Toastmasters, let's embrace the art of the fluent speech. Let's remove all the pesky pillars to the depth of, vocal oblivion and make tonight's speeches as smooth as butter or a hot toast. So, wishing you all a very amazing speech.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Nidhi, for that amazing introduction of your role. And I'm sure the grammarian is already at his job because you used such wonderful vocabulary already in the last 1 minute. So now I'm going to go to the grammarian and ask him to describe his role. The grammarian is also someone you've already met, Toastmaster Sai, who also wears the hat of the presiding officer. Over to you, Toastmaster Sai.
I wear hats, not sunscreen, because this bald head needs all the protection it can get. So I'm using hats to protect myself. My job as the grammarian is to keep track of how people are using the English language. Are they using it correctly? Are they using it incorrectly? Are there mistakes being made? Are there places where improvement is necessary? That is what my job will be, to keep track of that. In addition, I also have the responsibility of introducing words that are known to us, but not always commonly in use. For example, the word of the day today is jest. Jest means to make jokes or to say things intended to be humorous. I invite you to use the word jest whenever you're talking about something funny or you're narrating an incident where something amusing happened to you. Please consider using the word jest instead of the word joke or humorous or any of those things. I'm also trying to introduce the phrase of the day. I'm also wishing to introduce the phrase of the day, which is every trick in the book. This is a phrase of mine that I've tried to introduce before. It didn't work because nobody wanted to use every trick in the book to use either the word of the day or the phrase of the day. The phrase every trick in the book means to use any means possible to achieve an end goal, both honest or dishonest. So use every trick in the book to use the word of the day or the phrase of the day and help us have a wonderful meeting with phrases that we can all admire and use in our own daily lives. Back to you, Toastmaster, Master Ceremony, Sandhya.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Sai. I agree with Toastmaster Sandhya's suggestion. If you could put in the chat box, how do we use both the word of the day and the phrase of the day, that will be great. Moving on, let's begin with the prepared speech segment. Our first speaker tonight, it has been, like Toastmaster Sai said, a district officer. He's been a past division director of Division M. He is a member of Agnel Toastmasters Club, and we really happy. And it's wonderful, really, to have him as one of the speakers at our club tonight. None other than Toastmaster Sanish, who will be attempting his level 1 speech tonight. But more about his speech and project will be read out by his evaluator, Toastmaster Bhuvi. So let me invite Toastmaster Bhuvi to read out Toastmaster Sanish's speech objectives. Over to you, Toastmaster Bhuvi.
Thank you, Toastmaster, Master of Ceremonies, Toastmaster Sandhya. You have introduced the speaker number 1, Toastmaster Sunesh. Toastmaster Sunesh will be delivering his level 1 P2 speech for the pathway engaging humor. The purpose of his project is to learn or review basic methods for writing and presenting a well-organized speech on any topic. And the goal is to meet their expressed purpose statement with a well-executed speech. The speech may be humorous, informational, or in any style that the member chooses. But the objective should be clear, the purpose should be clear. The speech title for Toastmaster Sunesh's speech is Be Selfish. Over to you, Master of Ceremonies, Toastmaster Sandhya.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Bhuvi. Toastmaster Sanish, before you get started, I would request the timer to start sharing her screen so that you
Your
can make
speech
sure that you
timing
can
is
see the
5 to
timer
7
screen.
minutes, right?
Yes, that speech time is 5 to 7 minutes.
Yeah, I can see the time.
Great. Toastmaster Sanish, be selfish. Be selfish, Toastmaster Sanish.
Thank you, Master of Ceremonies. Be selfish. That is what I will tell each and every one of you. And when you hear those two words, you may be a bit surprised. In a platform like Toastmasters, where we say we have to be selfless, why is this speaker saying, be selfish? Let me first that reiterate with two verses and later on with a story. Like they say, what cannot be encapsulated in a story can be encapsulated in simple words, which I heard in Hindi. अगर बात जरूरी है तो रिश्ता भूल जाओ और अगर रिश्ता जरूरी है तो बात भूल जाओ, which translates to English. If the issue is important, forget the relationship, and if the relationship is important, forget the issue. Let me elaborate on these two lines with the help of a story. There were three friends, Sunny, Leon, and Vivek. A very close-knit friends which we have often seen in movies like Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, or maybe movies where it's shown that the friends go to Goa. In the latest one, like the Mazda Express. But this unlikely friendship between Sunny, Vivek, and Leon was not made in school or college, but in unlikeliest of the places, at office. Talking about office and college, it reminded me of my college days, where a professor told me that the best of the friendship are formed in schools, because in school we are innocent as children. We don't have ulterior motive, and as we grow up, the hidden agendas start developing. Rather than making connection and friendship, we start looking for making networking and maybe strategic alliances. As we grow and mature, we start looking how to make friendship not just for the sake of connecting with another person, but how we can use this relationship to push ourselves forward in this world. Now, coming back to the story of these three friends, they worked in a software company, but worked in different departments. So they never had competition amongst themselves. On every Friday evening, they used to hang out. The families looked, they will be coming. But after a couple of years, they soon accepted that they have left for the office on Friday morning, but they will come back on Saturday morning. Like the Mumbai's slogan goes, the city never sleeps. These three friends always hang out on every Friday night. One of the friends, Sunny, he was the philosopher. Vivek, he was the party person. Whenever he goes, everywhere he wanted to party. And Leon, he was the chill dude. He was okay with anything. Whatever Sunny or Leon, Vivek suggested, Leon always went along with them. But a story isn't good if everything went smoothly. As it has its ups, it also has its lows as well. Before we get to lows, let me show a couple of ups. How is a friendship story without going to Goa? They had a trip where they went to Goa and they decided to rent a car, the Zoom car, and they decided to be adventurous. And as they were going through the rural areas, they saw that they were having a lot of fun. They had to ask the people around how to go. And one of the remote areas, relying on the Google, they did not realize the path which was shown. And they finally reached. It wasn't a straight road, but almost not 90-degree, but around 80-degree downwards. Leon was driving the car. Sunny was the navigator. And Vivek was sitting behind. Leon asked Sunny, what should we do? It seemed like very dangerous. Sunny said, it's okay. I trust you. Let's take the plunge. Vivek asked, what happened? And both of them nodded, don't worry, everything is fine. And they took the plunge and went down. That's how adventurous and weird that journey used to be always. Even after reaching Goa, they had not booked a hotel like most of the people. They had to again go from one hotel to another hotel looking for the place because it was a long weekend and all the rooms were booked. Finally, they spent that night in the vehicle. Now, as they say, an auto rickshaw is not balanced because it has only 3 wheels. But the funny thing is, the moment you add another wheel, the balance is lost. Similarly, this triangular friendship lost its balance and stability when John joined their group. When John joined their group and another employee in their organization, suddenly Sunny started feeling that his place was being lost. He started feeling insecure. He went to Vivek, he went to Leon and said, John is always picking on me. Whenever we go to a restaurant, John passes a side comment. Why are you spending so much time looking at the menu? Are you trying to memorize it? And Sunny always felt that John was mocking him and ridiculing him. And the other friend said, it's just his nature. Don't take it personally. But as the small incidents kept on piling one on the another, the confidence of Sunny took a hit. And one fine evening, as they were sitting in a restaurant and having a gala time, again Ron just said, Sunny, it seems the other two will be promoted in the organization. What are you doing? Just hanging with them. And Sunny lost his patience and shouted at John. And the other friends suddenly felt, why Sunny being so rude? And suddenly, Sunny realized his mistake and he walked away. For weeks, he did not reach out to them. And the friends did not reach out to them. There was a crack in this relationship. Sunny held on to his ego. My friends, or my so-called friends, for whom I looked up to help, they didn't help me in my need. And the friends felt that Sunny is always seemed to be cribbing and complaining. He has changed over a period of time. And that friendship was lost over the period of time. They went in that different way. That is why be selfish. Know what is it that you want in life. Is it your principles? Is it your ego? Or is it your relationship? We have to identify those moments in our life where relationships are more important and we choose to stay silent. So choose to be selfish. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Sanish, for that very interesting speech. Our next speaker is also attempting a project from level 1. And to tell us more about his speech objectives, I would like to call upon his speech evaluator, Toastmaster Kashif.
Hi, good evening, everyone. The speaker today, Saurabh, is attempting Pathway Level 1, Project 4. The purpose of the project is to practice applying feedback and serve as a speech evaluator during a club meeting. The purpose of the speech is also for the member to present a speech and receive feedback from the evaluator. Saurabh, is this your first speech or the second speech?
This is the first speech.
Okay. Timer, please note 5 to 7 minutes. Over to you, Master of Ceremonies.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Kashif. Toastmaster Saurabh, before you start, please let us know if you can see the timer screen.
Yeah, clearly.
Toastmaster Saurabh Patil, the power of attitude in daily living. The power of attitude in daily living. Toastmaster Saurabh Patil.
Thank you, Master of Ceremonies. So, ladies and gentlemen, and my fellow Toastmasters and honored guest who has joined us today, good evening. Now, let me tell you about something. You know, these days we talk a lot about attitude. What is attitude? Imagine a morning when you wake up. You wake up with a stub in your toe, you spill coffee on your shirt, and then you realize you left your phone at home when you're going to your office or your work. Haven't we all been there someday or the other? I think we have. But today I want to talk about something that can turn those days around faster than you can say a double espresso attitude. Now let me start with a little secret here for you. Attitude is everything. Isn't it what you have heard everywhere on the social media, around your friends? But let me tell you something. It's like a Wi-Fi signal of our lives. When it's wrong, everything, when it's right, when it's strong, everything runs smoothly. Everything goes the way you want it and you're happy. But when it's weak, well, good luck streaming anything that you want to see. Attitude is how we see the world. And more importantly, how the world sees us. Think about it. Two people wake up on a very stormy, rainy day. One says, great, another miserable day. And the other one smiles and says, a perfect day for a nice coffee and a book. Same rain, different attitudes. And guess who's gonna get their day better and who's gonna have a worse day? You know it better than me because you heard what it is. So let's begin what an attitude is. What's the big deal with this attitude thing? Let's break it down. Number one, it boosts your personal well-being. A positive attitude can actually make you healthier. You think better, you're more happier. I mean, seriously, it's like a state of your mental health. It's a positive outlook are less likely to stress you out than a negative attitude. It's more likely to make you laugh themselves when you spill a coffee on your shirt or a t-shirt outside in front of people. Let's face it, laughter is the best and better thing for any stress ripples. I mean, who needs a Botox when you can have a good sense of humor, right? This step now, number two, it builds resilience. Positive attitude builds resilience. We all know that our lives are built with so much of a roller coaster ride, up and down, up and down. Unexpected things drop and we start screaming. A positive attitude helps you hang around, and enjoy the ride. When things go south, instead of crying over your cereal, you think, how can I learn from this? What am I going to achieve by cribbing on this? It's all about bouncing back like a rubber ball we used to play when we were a kid, or really a determined cat. Have you seen one of those cats? They always land on their feet, no matter how and where you throw them. Number 3, it improves relationship. Nobody likes to hang around a human rain cloud, any person who's craving all the time being negative. A positive attitude makes you more likable, gives you the good vibes, and let's be honest, more dateable. You know what I mean? When you're positive, you're more likely to understand others, more likely to be more receptive and forgive mistakes. Share the last size slice of your pizza. And that, my dear friends, is true love. Number 4, it boosts professional success. Ever notice that the person who gets promoted in the office is usually the one who has a silver lining in a mountain of paperwork, or maybe has a more approachable, positive attitude, is more willing? Have you noticed that? I think all of us who do, be it an entrepreneur, be it working in corporate, employers like positive attitude because it's contagious and it makes teamwork much better and happier place to be in. Plus, a positive attitude makes you more resilient, and it makes you more resilient to a 3 p.m. slump when you all want a nap. I mean, of course, a nap sometimes is very good for a positive attitude, let me tell you that. But if you're grumpy, your boss might just hand your pillow. Number 5, and the last one, it creates opportunities. A positive attitude opens doors you didn't even know, and then suddenly you realize that some opportunity has come only for you. It's because of the attitude. It makes you optimistic, confident, and try new things, take risks, and yes, be adventurous. So let me tell you a small story before I close down my speech. Remember a guy who, gave up his job to become an entrepreneur. He was so cheerful, he was so excited, but then he has a lot of personal setbacks. Basically, he was living in a Murphy's Law. Instead of wallowing, he decided to bounce back. He decided to change his attitude. And post-COVID, he came up with a cafe. Yes, for those who know, I'm talking about myself. What better example to give towards a positive attitude than my own self? It wasn't easy. Changing attitude was never easy. But let me tell you, it is what was the need of the hour. And a lot of people in the family, including my wife, motivated me to do that. I became the Rocky Balboa of small business of my cafe. Now, this story is definitely one powerful force of change that will inspire others. But before I close down, I want to give you a powerful message. Your attitude is a powerful tool that shapes your daily life. By choosing a positive attitude, you boost your well-being, build resilience, improve your relationships, and succeed professionally. But more importantly, you choose how you want the day to be, how the people around you want to be. So choice you make every day, ladies and gentlemen. It's a choice that you make to transform your lives. So let's embrace this positive attitude. Let's wake up ready to tackle whatever it comes without cribbing, without being negative, and maybe a little bit of caffeine, With the right attitude, every day is a great day. Over to you, Master of Ceremonies.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Saurabh, for that very inspiring speech. We are running a couple of minutes behind time, so I will move quick on this. So before we move on to our next segment, I would like to invite our timer, Toastmaster Cynthia, to tell us the time taken by the 2 prepared speakers.
Toastmaster Sanish took 7 minutes and 40 seconds, and Toastmaster Saurabh took 6 minutes and 56 seconds. So Toastmaster Saurabh qualifies.
Okay, unfortunately, there is one disqualification on the basis of time. But the good news is that Toastmaster Saurabh was on time. Well, that brings us to the next segment. And like I said, we need to be on time. So I'm going to quickly move on to the next segment. This is the segment that many of you, especially from outside the club, are here to witness the educational session. Before we move to the session, let me quickly introduce the speaker. And on behalf of BKC Fireflies, I'm really grateful that Toastmaster Gandhar agreed to deliver this educational session for us at quite a short notice. Toastmaster Gandhar is a member of Mulund Toastmasters Club, and he has been a part of the club's ExCom in a number of different roles. But the brightest feather on his cap is that he has been a podium finisher at the district conference of District 98 Eloquence last year, the year 2023, in the evaluation speech contest. So, who better than Toastmaster Gandhar to tell us on how to give effective evaluations? So that's going to be the main theme of the education session tonight. But in addition to that, given his experience as a Toastmaster, Toastmaster Gandhar would also tell us about what are the best practices when one takes up primary roles in any Toastmasters meeting, particularly the role of the Toastmaster of the Day and the General Evaluator, two very crucial roles in any Toastmasters meeting. And because we have the number of relatively new members in BKC Fireflies, we thought that this would be a session that will be useful to people who are relatively new to Toastmasters and are a little hesitant to take up this role. So hopefully after this session, that hesitation will go away and all of us can volunteer to take up also the primary roles in any Toastmasters meeting. So without much ado, Toastmaster Gandhar, the platform is yours. But before you start, like I said, timing is important. So I'm going to ask again our timer, Toastmaster Sandhya, how she is going to time Toastmaster Gandhar.
This is going to be tricky. Toastmaster Gandhar is the guest of honor today, and I'm going to be timing you. So yeah, please tell me how much time will you need?
Yeah, so I'll be conducting this particular session for about 45 to 50 minutes, max to max extending to 55 if Q&A comes in, but 40-45 you can include it.
So we will
At 45 you can give me a maybe.
Yes, we will have about 30 minutes and then an extended time of 35 minutes if we have to stop on time.
Okay, sure, I guess then it should be fine. I'll accordingly then manage it out. But if you can give me maybe an indicator in the middle, how is it going in terms of
So
time?
do you want me to okay, so how would you be comfortable in knowing the time?
You can just
An
signal
indication.
it maybe by directly saying it out. No issues with that.
Okay, can I put it on the chat and
Yeah.
you can take a look at the chat?
Yes.
Sure, thank you so much.
That should be.
Okay, so Toastmaster Gandhar, over to you. The stage is yours.
Sure, thank you. Thank you so much. With all the pressure created by Toastmasters, I also have a time pressure on me now, wherein I have to, wrap up a lot of stuff in very, very little time as such. But I'll try my best to cover as many points as possible for speech evaluation, general evaluations, and the Toastmaster of the day. At the outset, gratitude once again to BKC Fireflies. Very grateful that I'm getting an opportunity to serve you all. So I'll quickly move and share my screen to start off with. Just let me know once my screen is visible. You guys are able to see my screen? Okay, thank you. I'll put it in slideshow mode. Okay, welcome once again to all of you, and especially all those who have come also from other different clubs for this particular education session today. Even before I begin, just can I have, say, a raise of hands, a virtual raise of hands, or a direct raise of hands of those who have done speech evaluations before? Anyone? Okay. Those who have done general evaluations before? Okay. And those who have also done a Toastmaster of the Day role before? Anytime? Okay. So we relatively have a balanced way where many have been new members in, like we saw in case of the guest introduction, and many of those have also been there for a while now. And I've tried to tailor the session specifically for those who have just begun their journey, but I'm sure even those who have been there for a while now can benefit a lot from the insights I'm going to share. So to start off with, major proportion of my time will go in speech evaluations on how exactly can you master speech evaluations. where I'll be discussing on how can you deliver quality evaluations, and then followed by which I'll move on to certain best practices which can be followed for the general evaluators role as well as the Toastmaster role. So I'm going right from the basics and setting the context, and then I'll take it forward. And I've not kept it too technical. I've tried to make sure that whatever I'm speaking is in a very simplified. Okay, so to start off with, speech evaluations, and I'm going to try to keep it as interactive as well as possible. So I request some amount of audience participation as well. Before even me telling what exactly the role of a speech evaluator is and what a speech evaluation is supposed to achieve from an evaluator's perspective, can you guys tell me a few points that what is the role of an evaluator and what is exactly to be achieved? Anyone?
Give guidance to the speaker.
Okay, that's one very important point. Anyone else with a few more points? What is to be achieved? What exactly is the role?
Give feedback so the speaker and the evaluator both can improve.
Okay, okay. Any more last points?
Improve your skills on observation.
Thank you.
As an
Thank you so
evaluator.
much. Thank you so much for that. So yeah, just to synthesize and bring together all the points which have been spoken. Essentially, you're trying to offer very constructive and specific feedback to the speaker's content and to the speaker's delivery together. Because when you talk about the speaker's content, you're talking about what was spoken. And when you talk about the speaker's delivery, you're talking about how the speaker presented. And therefore, what and how both become very important parts of any speech evaluation when you're observing that speaker. And you're offering constructive and specific. And how exactly it is offered, that will come in more elaborate terms. But in essence, you're describing the highlights of what essentially went well in the speech. Then you're going on to the areas of improvement. What could be a few areas whereon the speaker can work upon? And finally, summarizing and giving the last pointers and putting it all together in a time of 2 to 3 minutes, averagely with a 30 seconds grace. So this, in essence, is the basic aspects of what a speech evaluation is. So I wanted to clear up this definition to start off with, that what exactly is speech evaluations, where you're offering specific feedback, as I said. And it's not just feedback on how the speaker spoke, but also upon what the speaker spoke. The content also equally matters. And that's something which I wanted to start off with in terms of the basic definition to start off. With this, before even moving on to how exactly a particular speaker is to be evaluated, both from a content and delivery perspective, I would want to go a bit deeper on what parameters a speaker is being observed upon, evaluated upon, or judged upon. So I throw back a question to all of you, that what do you guys think are those ingredients, those parameters, or those building blocks, if you may call, on which a speech is evaluated? Both from a content or from a delivery perspective, you can give. And obviously, I'll be presenting a final list on this slide. But before even me saying anything, what could be those few basic building blocks, those parameters on which you observe a speech? Anyone?
The story, the storytelling, and the basic structure of the speech leading to the climax and the ending.
Okay. Anyone else?
Voice modulation, tone.
Voice modulation, tone, more towards the vocal aspects.
Gestures, yes. Gestures, body language.
Okay. Okay. Coming again in the body language side. Thank you. Any more final points? Any parameters coming across your mind?
Choice of words used.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for giving a small, components basically, or you can say the building blocks on which a particular speech is to be evaluated. And here is the first thing which I even wanted to bring, even before I talk on what is exactly the way to evaluate a speech. But before that, I wanted to start off with this slide on what exactly are you evaluating the speaker upon. And therefore, I made sure to keep this slide at the very start. where you are trying to evaluate that particular speaker on these different parameters which are. And therefore, I started off with this because unless and until we have an overview of what exactly are the parameters we are evaluating on, we cannot observe or analyze that speaker very effectively. And that's something very crucial, where it's very important to have an overview and an understanding of what exactly are the parameters from both a content perspective and a delivery perspective, as each of these sides have been listed upon, on which a particular speaker is evaluated. So you can take a particular screenshot, or you can just take a particular photo, or you can just note them down in a notepad or something. Definitely this presentation will be shared. But I wanted to start off this particular session with first stating these points, because unless and until we know these basic building blocks, analyzing the speech becomes very difficult. So these are basically like the ABCD of speech evaluations, which actually help us observe a speaker effect. And that's where I wished to first start off my session with stating all of these parameters in line. So essentially, these parameters which are there, both from a content or delivery perspective, become important, and they are on what we analyze, observe, and ultimately present our evaluation during a speech evaluation. With this, I wish to now move to the main aspects, which is how exactly a speech is to be evaluated. So we just discussed what the basic definition was, what exactly are the parameters you're going to evaluate on. I just gave you a small overview of it. Now coming to the crux of the entire topic, which is how do I exactly go about in evaluating a speech, and what do I incorporate as part of my speech evaluation? What could be those few elements which could be a part of my speech evaluation when I'm presenting? Now, irrespective of whether it is a regular club meeting or whether it is a contest at club, area, division, district, irrespective, as part of the judges' ballot, there are these 4 sections which essentially come about, which you can summarize it using basically an acronym, which is like an arts acronym. So ARTS are basically those sections as a part of the judges' ballot. And it is through this particular acronym of ARTS, the analytical quality, the recommendations, the technique, and summation, I will be exactly showing you how to evaluate a speech, and also on how do you present that particular evaluation, both together. And if you see with respect to the proportion from a contest perspective, your analysis of a speech and your recommendations together make 70 points. The technique makes up 15, and summation makes up 15 points to finally total up to 100. So therefore, this is essentially the acronym which I'll be presenting now on how do you evaluate a particular evaluation. So far, so good. The pacing is going good. Can I have a few shout outs, a few responses? Okay, thank you. Okay, so to start off with the A in the ARTS acronym, which stands for analysis. Now, when you talk about speech analysis, you're talking about how are you observing and analyzing the speech with respect to the different parameters which we saw 2 slides before. And ultimately, you're preparing an evaluation based on that, based on the analysis. Now, when you talk about speech analysis, we are analyzing what? We are analyzing both the strengths of the speech and the weaknesses of the speech, both from a content and delivery perspective. So what could be a few strengths which can come up? What could be a few weaknesses that can come up? They again depend on the speech parameters. And therefore, I made sure to first go to those parameters and just make sure to list them clearly. Because on those parameters on which we are going to be analyzing the speech and ultimately presenting our evaluation. And therefore, of giving a few examples of what could be a few strengths and weaknesses. Say, for instance, a particular speech was given where it was an adventurous journey which was been spoken. So in an adventurous journey, what could be a few different elements that could be brought forth? So if the speaker has used an array of emotions, or say the speaker has been great at vocal variety or at voice modulation, or for that matter, at some kind of a role play where two people are speaking. There is a lot of emotions which come in adventurous speeches. So that becomes a strength. But if the tone was very monotonous, that becomes essentially a weakness. So it's pretty much self-explanatory and straightforward. Or for that matter, the pacing of the speech was too fast. So that again falls into the category of weaknesses. So again, based on the parameters which we saw earlier, we are seeing that either that particular parameter is a strength or it is a weakness in a particular speech from a content or a delivery perspective. So that's essentially what do you mean by analyzing the strengths and the weaknesses, where based on the parameters you saw previously, you analyze and say, okay, this was there, this was there. Another thing which I wanted to bring is, apart from mentioning the highlights of the speech and the areas of improvement in a particular speech, one more thing which can be added in any speech evaluation is, along with the highlights, you can also mention what was the best part about the speech. What was that one element you felt which was the game changer, which was the most impressive, which was the most lucrative, either from a content or delivery perspective. But if that as well is mentioned, I feel that becomes a very strong analysis, and most importantly, a very big highlight in your own evaluation, where you have tried to bring up what was the best element in that particular speech. So this is what I wanted to cover in terms of speech analysis. And to sum up what I just said, effective analysis is nothing but a small equation where you have a good understanding of the parameters, which we saw 2 slides back, based on what we are analyzing. And coupled with that, the most simple underlying principle, which is of the principle of consistent practice. So the more and more we are able to practice, and the more and more we are able to deepen our understanding of the parameters, we can actually analyze effectively. We can actually observe a speech effectively and state the highlights, the areas of improvement, and finally summarize that particular evaluation. So this was in regards to the A in the arts. Coming to the recommendations. Now, when you talk about any kind of recommendations, the areas of improvement basically, it's very important to give specific feedback for the areas of improvement. Now, what could be a few places where a particular speaker can improve or have areas of improvement, and how it is stated? Let me just tell you. So say, for instance, an evaluator might say the speech objective wasn't met, or the stage usage was too much. The speaker was continuously moving on the stage. Or say the voice was too low, or the pacing was too fast, or the structure wasn't that good. And we're essentially trying to see that this has been a strength or this has been a weakness, and the weakness we are giving that area of. My advice, when you're giving a specific feedback on the areas of improvement, make sure that don't just state what is to be improved, but also go on one step further on how it is to be improved. So therefore, the ability to be specific in your recommendations is not just about what are those things that the speaker must improve on, but also go one step ahead as you practice on and on how exactly the speaker can improve. Let me explain it through a few examples. Let's say a particular speaker gave a speech on a topic which was very technical in nature. Say it was, say a research and presentation speech. It was a speech on education, on technology or finance or whatever. And the speaker explained plainly with jargon, and it was not presented in a very simplified manner. So what is the area of improvement we give? We will say that you should also be presenting any technical topic in a very simplified manner. I am trying to take you one step ahead in not just stating what exactly is to be improved, but you should also go on to say, how can you improve it? So for instance, if the topic was too technical with too many jargons involved, how can that speaker go on to improve? So the what to improve is very clear. That the speaker should present things in a much more simplified manner for a very technical topic. But how can he do it? Oh, could he have used an acronym? Could he have maybe used a story to tell that particular data? That is something which can etch more quickly in the minds of people. Or maybe 3 C's or 5 P's. Are these different ways possible for that speaker to add? And this essentially is the how to improve aspect, which can be incorporated in your areas of improvement. So it's not just the what to be improved, but also the how to be improved. Another example, say the speaker gave a very abrupt conclusion. So if the speaker gave a very abrupt conclusion, what is our typical area of improvement or recommendation? A stronger conclusion is expected. But go one step ahead and say, how can you go on to have a stronger conclusion? Can it be a rhetorical question? Can it be a quote? Can it be a phrase? And that is something which actually distinguishes a good evaluator from a great evaluator, where specific feedback is given on not just what is to be improved, but also how to improve it. And this aspect comes with time, it comes with practice. The more and more evaluations you're able to give, you're able to also understand where that speaker should exactly know and how to improve. And that's what exactly is about being specific with your recommendations. And another point to state is for a beginner evaluator, especially those who are just beginning their evaluation journey, I would suggest an average, ratio of the number of highlights to state in your evaluation versus the number of areas of improvement. It could be a 2-3 combination of 2 highlights and 3 areas of improvement, or a 3-2 combination of 3 highlights or 2 areas of improvement. This is, I'm saying, a disclaimer for someone who are just beginning their journey. This will again vary speech to speech basis. So it could be 4-1, it could be 4-2, it could be 3-2, again, depending on your own pacing of an evaluation. But ideally, for a beginner evaluator, I always suggest if we are able to have a starting point of a 3-2 or a 2-3 combination. As I said, it can vary speech to speech basis. So this was in regards to the A and the R of the ARTS acronym on how to evaluate. So far, so good. It's going pretty good. You're able to understand. Can I have a few thumbs up, a few responses? Okay. No, thank you. Thank you. Coming to the T in the ARTS acronym on how to deliver effective evaluations. Now, when you're talking about analysis and recommendations, which we saw in the earlier part, that deals with a lot on evaluating a particular speech, but now it is on presenting that evaluation. And that's where the technique aspect comes into picture. That how are you going to deliver or present what you have evaluated? And that's the aspect of the T, the technique aspect of a speech evaluation. And what is the technique you're going to basically use while presenting your evaluation? Now, there are different techniques which come into picture when it comes to presenting an evaluation. And I will also state a few different styles you can use to present your evaluation. But as a beginner evaluator, as someone who's just beginning his evaluation journey, in a 2 to 3 minute of a time frame, as a beginner, first suggestion I would have is to structure your evaluation. And what is the basic, a very elementary structure that you can essentially follow while you're presenting your evaluation? Like, this is something which I personally follow and which can also be used by you guys, and as beginners in evaluation can be used by them especially. That we start off on a positive note, not necessarily a quote or something. I personally love to use quotes because that is something, I have a basket of quotes with me. I'm able to quickly extract one particular quote from it and relate it to the speech and start off my evaluation. So starting off the evaluation on a positive note becomes of prime importance. And you can essentially state out a point which you resonated with, which you maybe were able to relate more to and able to relate it to your personal experience. Or maybe one particular lesson which was really profound in that particular speech. So starting on a positive note, either through a quote or either through a statement or either through a phrase, can be a way to begin an evaluation for a beginner evaluation. Then we come to the highlights of the speech. What exactly were those aspects which you felt were the strengths of that particular speech, both from a content and delivery perspective? And in that as well, what was the best element, as I just said in the previous slide, that along with the basic highlights, what was that thing which was the most lucrative in the entire speech? That is something which you can also go on to incorporate. Finally, you can come to the areas of improvement, which was the recommendations part, which we saw in the previous slide, on what could be those areas of improvement that the speaker can incorporate. And it can be presented as part of your evaluation. And you're going to summarize that particular evaluation at the end when you're culminating. That's something which is the basic structure which can be followed. When you begin on a positive note, come to the highlights, then come to the best part, the areas of improvement, and finally you summarize. So this is something which can be used as a beginner evaluator. There are many more styles of presenting. There is something called as the thematic style. So say for instance, the speaker presented on a topic like cricket. So there are many evaluators who, say for instance, they're evaluating on a topic like that and they want to use a thematic style. For the strengths of the speech, they will say these were the places you hit sixes, or these were the places you hit fours. Or in case of weaknesses, they might say that these were the places where you could have potentially gotten out. So based on this theme of the speech, the evaluation has also been, fine-tuned in that particular way. So that's a thematic style of an event. There are also ways like an acronym, like one particular speech I saw in World Toastmasters Club itself, where during the speech itself, there was an acronym called HAIL, HAIL, which was given. And the evaluator also used HAIL to evaluate that particular and present that particular evaluation. So H would stand for hand gestures. L or any other acronym or any other element of the acronym would stand for something else as any other parameter. So there are many different styles of presenting your evaluation. But as I mentioned, when you're structuring your evaluation as a beginner, you can follow the basic template which has been given. And this is something which has been universally followed in Toastmasters to start off. Coming to the second point, which is on balancing, a balancing act to be played by us, where we are being sensitive to the needs and feelings of the speaker, and we're also inspiring them to work upon their areas of need. So how exactly are we able to balance and offer constructive criticism? That's something very important for an evaluator. Because at the end of the day, are we making sure to leave the speaker encouraged to work upon his mistakes? That I feel is the biggest success of a speech evaluator. So the ability to balance between being sensitive and also trying to inspire them to work upon is what I call the principle of being assertive, where you're firm on the points which you're trying to state, but also you're able to make sure that you're explaining them in a very beneficial way, encouraging way, respectful way, and in a very polite tone. And therefore, that balance again comes with practice. But as I mentioned, at the end of the day, with practice, if you go on, that's when you can balance between being sensitive and also making sure that you're inspiring them to work upon their areas of need. And that I feel will be the success of that speech evaluation if you've encouraged them, especially if it was not up to a mark speech. So this is in regards to the technique of a speech evaluation. And finally, which is the most interesting point, the summary, the S in the ARTS acronym, which is to ensure that you're clearly summarizing what you had stated in the first initial and the major parts of your speech evaluation. That what were those basic highlights? Maybe just in 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 lines when you're summarizing, what were the highlights? What were the suggestions you gave? And you end on a very encouraging note so that the speaker is left inspired or left encouraged. That's something very important. And the final point which I want to state is summaries play a very important role in evaluation contests. As I mentioned, it's a clear 15 points if you're able to properly summarize and clearly state all the points in your summary, and 15 points directly get added to your account. So it's, in cricketing language, it's like a half volley. Directly, you have to hit it for a 6. So that's something very important. And one point which I want to state here is that make sure you clearly state when you're starting your summary. So you can clearly mention to summarize in summary, in conclusion. So this is a simple trigger to be used to make sure that you're beginning your summary part of your speech evaluation. So that's something which I wanted to cover up when it comes to summary. Therefore, summaries play a very important role during speech, during evaluation contests particularly. With this, let me now come to this particular aspect on the best practices. Most of the part is covered. I'm not going to take too much of time over here as we have G and T mod going ahead. So just to start off with, ask those you have been assigned to evaluate what they will present and what they wish to be evaluated upon. Are there any specific places that the speaker feels they want to be evaluated upon? And also make sure that the speech objectives, you are reading them very clearly, because that's where you will be able to analyze the speech also very effectively. So make sure that you can ask the speaker much more in advance that are there any specific places you wish to be judged upon, evaluated. Offer praise, make sure that that encouraging tone is continuous all through your evaluation, where you give a basic kudos while you're describing highlights particularly. Be specific while you're describing the highlights and areas of improvement. I already explained them while explaining the ARTS acronym. Ensure your advice is constructive and appropriate to the speaker's level of experience. Now, this specifically comes into picture. Say, for instance, a particular speaker is giving an icebreaker speech. Now, it's better to present an evaluation which is very simplified for that speaker, in a way that the speaker had just given his first speech. It shouldn't be a very technical evaluation where the speaker is left confused by the end, by the time you end that evaluation. So, based on the speaker's experience level, it's very important to also fine-tune your speech evaluation. That's important. Be careful and alert of timings, because especially in contests, 2 to 3 minutes wrap up very quickly. So make sure that even when you're practicing, you're mindful of the timings very well in your mind. Don't forget to summarize. It's a clear 15-pointer in case of contests, and especially in case of club meetings, you will be able to summarize all your points and put them all together for the speaker's benefit. Last 2 points, which are again very foundational: practice different types of speeches, especially for those who have been there for a while now. And along with practicing, the regular set of speeches which we get in a club meeting, you can go on to different clubs, practice, evaluating different types of speeches. Say maybe from level 3, level 4, level 5, maybe any other kind of speeches which you feel you want to evaluate on, and you feel that this will be a great challenge to take up. That can be one thing done. And finally, to end with, understand the parameters of speaking pretty clearly, as I mentioned right at the start, and gave an overview of those parameters, because that's on which you are going to be analyzing that particular speech. So this was in regards to speech evaluations that I wanted to cover. So far, so good. It's pretty good. Can I just get a few responses from you all? Okay. Thank you so much. With this, I'll now quickly move on, and I won't take much time over here when it comes to GE and T1. I'll just be going on to share the best practices. Coming to a general evaluation. Now, essentially the role of a general evaluator is the role where you are assessing, reviewing, or doing a quality check on what exactly and how exactly did the meeting progress. The role of the general evaluator essentially deals with evaluating everything that is taking place during the club meeting. What were the different happenings which took place during the meeting? And just like in case of a speech, the speech had its own strengths and weaknesses, and you have a speech evaluator, right? A club meeting will also have its own strengths and weaknesses, and therefore you have a general evaluator. So that in essence is what a general evaluator role is about, where you're trying to evaluate the level of preparation, the level of delivery of all the different role players, all the different people who came on the stage and spoke, the major people who came on the stage and spoke. And most importantly, during your own general evaluation, how exactly was the meeting overall in terms of the preparation, the timeliness, the execution, in carrying out the duties of different role players? How did they exactly do it? This is essentially what a general evaluator is supposed to do. And I'm going to give a very simple, tangible tool which can be used. And I'll once again shift my screen to what I call a general evaluator's checklist. Now, in an online meeting, these things might add or delete. There can be a few changes here. You can prepare it separately for an online meeting, but this is a very simple checklist that a general evaluator can use. And if I just scroll down, it includes both aspects, that you're satisfied or you think this could have been done better. So right from the Toastmaster of the day, right from the Sergeant at Arms, the presiding officer, speakers, the table topic master, the Toastmaster of the day, and all the role players as well. All of them can be pretty well ticked on, are you satisfied or are you not? Using this very simple, easy to use checklist, I feel. So this is something which can be used. I just wanted to cover it. And I will be sharing both the presentation and the checklist once this particular meeting ends to Toastmaster Sandhya. And that is something which can even help you guys. And you can tailor make it even according to online meetings. So as I mentioned, the highlights of the meeting and what could be those areas of improvement, both these aspects are basically being evaluated by that particular evaluator, general evaluator, and presented as part of a general evaluation. Now coming to, one final point, it's a role of providing motivating, structured, and specific feedback on the meeting. Like a speech evaluator provides it for a speech, a general evaluator provides it for a meeting. And coming to a few tips which I can give on how to perform this particular role effectively, that make sure that you facilitate the speech evaluations, the role players report segments very effectively in a crystal clear manner, and using the general evaluator's checklist, which we just saw previously, all the different aspects in the meeting, right from Sergeant at Arms starting to the presiding officer concluding the meeting, all of it can be very well covered using that checklist. And these are the aspects on which you can see how did the meeting go, the preparation, the organization, the timeliness of the meeting, and you can give your general feedback, essentially. And a final few 3 pointers on the general evaluator's role, and ensure to explain your role very clearly, and the G session flow also very clearly, that the general evaluator segment will involve 3 parts, where you have speech evaluations to start off with, the role players report followed by that, and finally, your own general evaluation of the entire meeting. So make sure that your own role is properly clarified and the session flow is also explained. That's something important. And during the meeting, as I explained in the previous slide itself, you can use a checklist, which is a simple checklist, and make your own notes specifically on how exactly did the meeting progress and unfold. And one last point to share is manage time effectively and be in sync with the meeting organizers. And this point will again come when I speak about the TMOD. But specifically speaking, make sure that you're managing time effectively, because many instances you might have to directly hand over the meeting to the presiding officer if there's paucity of time. So be in sync with the meeting organizers as well, like in case of voting or in case of any announcement, or you want to directly hand it over to the PO. So make sure your communication with the meeting organizers, the SA, the PO, the VP education team is you're basically in sync with them, and they know, and making sure that your communication is clear with them during the meetings. So this was in regards to the general evaluator's role and how exactly it is to be performed. And finally, I'll be coming to the last segment which I wanted to share, which is celebrate the meeting with the highlights and give words of encouragement for the general evaluator. This is the most central piece for a general evaluator's role, that the meeting is now on the culmination. So it's all about celebrating how did the meeting with highlights and words of encouragement. And that's something becomes very crucial and central to the role of the general evaluator, which I feel is very crucial when you take up this. With this, let me come quickly to the Toastmaster of the day. The Toastmaster of the day, again, a very important role as part of any meeting, if you see. Now, when you talk about the role of the Toastmaster of the day or the general evaluator, or for that matter, the table topic master as well. Now, these are the 3 major roles which take place during a meeting. And the role of the Toastmaster of the day, even among the 3, is of prime importance, because you're leading and managing the entire show, if you see. So the aspects which I want to share over here is what exactly is the role to start off. So you're essentially hosting the meeting through 2 means. One is you're facilitating, you're playing the role of a facilitator and a host, and making sure that the transitions in the meeting are very smooth. The entire flow of the meeting is going very smoothly. And coupled with that, you're also presenting your own theme, which you have decided for the day. So there is a twofold role which essentially comes into picture, where as a host, as a facilitator, you're going on to ensure that the meeting is flowing smoothly, on track, and also presenting your theme side by side as part of your theme presentation during the meeting. So it's all about managing the meeting, adhering to the agenda, and ensuring that the transitions are very seamless and the meeting is essentially moving on right track. Because as someone who is the team mod, what essentially happens is, being a very important role, you have to manage the entire show like how an anchor manages an entire event, right? And therefore, it brings out four personas from us. So you're also an organizer, you're a host, you have to keep the audience very engaged also, and most importantly, you have to ensure that the timelines are also effectively within the boundary or are met to the best extent possible. And this particular role is a very interesting role, because if you see, the Toastmaster of the day is someone who gets the maximum chances to come and speak on stage. So you're getting to present your theme, you're getting to facilitate the entire session and lead and manage the show. So this is something which can help us grow as speakers also and grow as leaders also, because we have to also manage and lead the entire show and be in sync with the other meeting organizers. So that's essentially what the role of the team mod is, where both facilitation, hosting, and presenting of the theme both take place together. Just one final slide before I wrap up on a few best practices which can come into picture, that how to perform the team mod's role effectively. Now, as I mentioned, the role of the team mod is someone who is like the driver of the entire meeting, the host and the facilitator of the entire meeting. And the first thing that the host should very well know is be clear with what the meeting agenda is. What exactly is the speakers list, the speech titles, who the role players are there any education sessions or so? So first and foremost, be very well aware of what's going to happen during the meeting itself, because you have to run the entire show, right? So this is something very important to ensure that everything is right on track and the flow of the meeting is proper. So make sure that you're very well aware of what is in the agenda and how exactly the flow of the meeting is. Ensure that timelines are properly met and managed well. Make sure that your eyes are on the clock, especially while transitioning from different phases and different segments of the meeting. And that brings me to the third point, that to ensure that these timelines are met, just like a G has to be careful about time and has to be in touch with the other meeting organizer, as Toastmaster of the day, more important, ensure that you are in sync with the Sergeant at Arms, the presiding officer, the organizing team, especially in an offline meeting scenario, that you're very well aware and making sure that the things flow smoothly, be in sync, and make sure your communication with them is in sync to ensure that the timings of the meeting are right on. And just final 4 pointers which I wish to give, which could be a few best add-on practices which a team mod can use. That prepare your theme very well in advance and be clear with what you're going to be presenting. Because if you see, the energy drivers of the meeting, as I said, are the team mod, G, and the table topic master. And even within that, the Toastmaster. So if these three people particularly are delivering very quality roles, they are actually going to have a quality meeting brought together by these three people. So it is these three people are playing major roles in the meeting, and even within that, the team mod. It's very important that they are the main energy drivers, and the team mod in the meeting is someone who is strong and presenting quality sessions throughout the particular meeting. Finally, the third last point, ensure you give a brief about Toastmasters and your own home club, which is there, just to set the context for the new members and for the guests. Prepare a brief intro in advance for every prepared speaker or role player. This is something which we also practice in Modern Toastmasters Club very proactively, that especially in something, if there's a particular theme for a meeting, if you can ask a few questions in advance to the role players or to the prepared speakers to introduce them, in relation to the theme particularly, I think that is a very brilliant way of introducing them and making sure that even the theme of the meeting, the continuity of the theme is maintained throughout your particular session. So that's something which you can take care of, a brief introduction of them based on the theme mainly. And finally, try keeping the session very interactive and try to build a rapport with the audience so that even the audience is not bored or tired of, essentially just you speaking. So that's something which you can again take care of as the Toastmaster of the day, that your ability to also engage with the audience is one skill you can get to build in. So this was with respect to the Toastmaster of the day. And with that, I thank you all for your rapt attention. With this, I will keep the floor now open to any kind of questions, comments, anything, queries. Over to the MOC if they want to facilitate the Q&A or any questions as such.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Gandhar, for that wonderful, insightful session. And I must say, I personally liked the concept of arts. All of us in Toastmasters have been hearing about the CRC approach so much. Not to say that that approach is not useful, but I found your approach very effective, especially when it comes to evaluation contests. And you split it up so very well. I'm sure that it's now etched in everyone's mind, and it's very useful to when one is participating in an evaluation contest or even giving an evaluation in any Toastmasters meeting. This concept of arts, I'm sure, is going to be very, very useful. And also all those checklists for the role of the GE and the Toastmaster of the day, very comprehensive and extremely useful. So now, like we said earlier, the floor is open for questions. Any questions from anyone?
If I may
or
intrude,
comments?
If I may intrude, we're going to be having the evaluation session post the speech,
Yes.
as well as the conclusions. I guess we might have to take the questions on the chat or on an email so that we can proceed and be on time. Thank you for your understanding.
Okay. Thanks, Cynthia. So in the meantime, what I will do is, I know we need to abide by the time as well, but in case anybody has questions, comments, please put it in the chat box. So Toastmaster Gandhar can also keep responding to them in the chat box, or after the meeting, we can take it forward. Yes, let's do that. And thank you, Toastmaster Cynthia, for reminding us that we have to keep the time. So let's quickly move to the evaluation segment now. And Toastmaster Gandhar has told us about all the tricks that one can use during evaluation. So let's see if our evaluators have actually picked up those tricks and they can produce them right now. I'm just saying this in jest. But let's call upon our first evaluator, Toastmaster Boogie. But before that, Toastmaster Cynthia, quickly, can you tell us the timings for the evaluations?
Yes, so the evaluations, the timing is going to be 2 to 3 minutes. 2 minutes is when you'll see the green. 2.5 minutes is when you will see the yellow. And I would request you to stop at 3 minutes when you see the red, because in 3.5 minutes, you will be disqualified no matter what trick in the book you use. Over to you.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Toastmaster Cynthia. Toastmaster Bhuvi, you can start once you can see the timer screen.
Okay. Yes, the timer screen is blank for me right now.
Toastmaster Cynthia would start sharing her screen. I don't think she's started that yet. Yes.
Okay, all right. Great. So I shall begin. So thank you, Master of Ceremonies, Toastmaster Sandhya. I am to evaluate Toastmaster Sunish, who is giving his L1 P2, and I will jump into what he did well. Basically, I felt that Toastmaster Sunesh, had a lot of energy when you were presenting. You also began very well. You were standing and you used your space extremely well. So what you did was you stood up when you started the speech, and your voice modulation, the energy that you gave, very good, very well done. All throughout the speech, the gestures that you used also were very much coordinated there when needed, not overt. There was this one time in your speech where you were pointing towards 90 degrees and 80 degrees descent rather, and you used your hands very well. You said this was 90 and this was 80. So I felt that the connect came like that because of the gestures that you used. So very well done. I also felt that your storytelling and the build-up of the story was very interesting. When you started, you linked it to Toastmasters, the Toastmasters journey for, improvement, and how your topic was a little bit not basis what the Toastmasters ethos was. You used a Hindi phrase again to connect with the general audience. This could be a positive as well as a negative, which is why I will start on things that you will want to improve on now, which is that oftentimes in Toastmasters gathering, there may not be everybody who would understand a local language, which is why it could be avoidable. I mean, you did translate it, but it is something that could be avoidable. You also mentioned Zoom car as a brand. Again, not a very common brand, just the word rental would have sufficed. The next big point of improvement that I felt was that you attempted to introduce humor in your speech, wherein you had given in a joke right in the beginning. However, you did not use pauses enough. If you would have just paused a little bit, the joke would have landed better. Secondly, you spent a lot of time in building up the story, but you started the climax and the conclusion only towards the 6-minute mark, which was very late. I think the build-up could have been reduced, the storytelling could have been reduced. It would have given you a good 2.5 minutes or 3 minutes for the climax as well as the story. And lastly, the title didn't match the speech. Your title was Be Selfish, but it was more about friendship. So that is what you may think about for the next time. So yeah, thank you. That's all for my end.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Bhuvi, for that feedback to Toastmaster Sanisha's speech. I will next invite our second evaluator, Toastmaster Kashif, who will be evaluating Toastmaster Saurabh's speech. Toastmaster Kashif, once you can.
I am not able to hear you, Sandhya.
Sorry. I just realized I was on mute. Sorry. We now have our next evaluator, Toastmaster Kashif, who will be evaluating Toastmaster Saurabh's speech. Toastmaster Kashif, you can start as soon as you see the timer screen.
Okay, yeah, I can see the screen. Good evening, everyone. So Saurabh, I have seen Saurabh and he's evolving and he's getting better and better with each speech. Today, he talked about attitude and the power of attitude. And one of the things which he mentioned towards the very beginning of the speech was that attitude is how we see the world and how the world sees us. And it resonated very strongly with me because I also have a similar saying which says that we see people and things as we are, not as they are, right? We see people and things as our own attitude. If we have a good attitude, we see happy people and good things. And if we have a bad attitude, then we see the opposite. So that was a great beginning from Saurabh. And then he went on to talk about the 5 beneficial effects of having a good attitude. He talked about the 5 effects, which is being more healthy, being more resilient, being more likable, more professional success, and it creates more opportunities. So those were the 5 things. The 3 things which I really loved about his speech. The first one was that he used his hand gestures and his expressions, and he used them in combination, which worked really great today. One of the things, for example, he said that if you have a good attitude, then you are more dateable. You know what I mean? Like, he said that with the hand gestures and his expressions, which really worked wonders, and it was a magical combination. The second thing which I loved was his humor, and the humor was not present only in one place, but his humor was peppered throughout his speech. For example, one of the things he said was that if you have a good attitude, who needs a Botox when you have a good attitude? Or something to that effect. The third thing which I really liked was his conclusion, where he used a personal story. And we all know that personal stories connect better with audience and they build credibility. So great job. The things which I think he can improve. The first is that I would love if he can stand up. Now imagine if you can give such a great speech sitting down, imagine what you can do when you really stand up. So that's the first. The second thing is that 5 benefits is too many benefits. I would go with the power of 3. It works in almost all situations. Overall, the way Saurabh is going, he is really going like Rocky Balboa, and he is building momentum with each with each speech. And I cannot wait to hear what he has to say in his future speeches. Back to you, Master of Ceremonies.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Kashif, for that great feedback that you gave to Toastmaster Saurabh. And so all of us have something to learn from that feedback for our future. So much. I would now like to call upon our very dedicated timer, Toastmaster Sandhya, to tell us how the evaluators did on time and how we are doing on time.
Absolutely perfect as far as the evaluators are concerned. And depending on how much more we stretch forward, I will let you know on the time at the end. So as far as the evaluators are concerned, Toastmaster Bhuvi was at 3 minutes and 17 seconds, and Toastmaster Kashif was at 2 minutes and 54 seconds. He definitely speeded up the last 15 seconds to be on time. So yes, both of them qualify.
That's great to know. And may I request the Zoom master to release the polls for them. And in the meantime, I would like to invite our counter, Toastmaster Nidhi, to give us her report.
So Toastmaster Sunish, I couldn't find even a single and so So excellent performance. Second, Toastmaster Saurabh, you have used 2 R's, 3 R, 1 and 1 . And the evaluator number 1, Toastmaster Bhuvi, she had used 1 so, 4 R, 2 and 1 ah. And lastly, the evaluator Toastmaster Kashif, you have used 3 R's, 2 ands, 1 and 3 so's. Yeah, so it's my report.
Okay, I will assume that all other speakers were flawless as far as their fillers were concerned. And now we move on to our next auxiliary role player, the grammarian. Please, over to you, Toastmaster side.
Let us knock the word of the day and the phrase of the day out of the way first, because these are the simplest reports to give. Sandhya is the only speaker today who used the word jest. Despite all of my efforts, only Cynthia used every trick in the book to use the phrase of the day. Thank you so much, Cynthia. Thank you so much, Sandhya, for the work you did in using the word of the day and the phrase of the day. Some of the usages that really stood out to me were a few words, a few phrases which are memorable, and I'm hoping to be able to use them sometime in the future. Sanish said, reiterate, encapsulate, the triangle of friendship, mocking, ridiculous. And a phrase of his that I don't know if I'll ever be able to forget is, if the issue is important, forget the relationship. If the relationship is important, forget the issue. What a thought. Brilliant. Saurabh, while a lot of his interesting phrases and well-structured comments were covered by his evaluator. I also wanted to add a few more that stood out to me. And sorry, let me summarize it in one sentence for Saurabh. He used a lot of very, very effective and accurate metaphors to describe situations. For example, attitude is like Wi-Fi. We all know when Wi-Fi goes down, how upset we are, and how when we have good Wi-Fi, how well we are working. So attitude is like Wi-Fi is a great metaphor. He also said things like bouncing back like a childhood rubber ball on a cat who lands on their feet. The human rain cloud, how perfect was that to imagine a person who's so gloomy that their entire outlook overshadows everything that you are experiencing as an individual yourself. So amazing metaphors, very effective, very accurate. We should take lessons from him. A few other things he said which really connected with me because it was so effectively done. Living inside Murphy's Law, he was talking about his own life where he was wallowing, which is another word he used, in the absolute pits of despair, but he recovered from it like the Rocky Balboa of his own story. Brilliant. And then he was able to open doors, which is another phrase of his that I liked. Gandhar, gratitude, and the ABCD of evaluations to talk about building blocks, which is another phrase that he used. ABCD of evaluations, we can use it in so many ways. ABCD of speech writing, the ABCD of cooking. We can use that as a building block for any sort of metaphors. Nice work, and thank you for introducing this idea to us. One step ahead, a basket of quotes. I was imagining myself digging through and rummaging through a basket of quotes and then picking out the one exactly right for the speech that we're going to discuss. And I thought that was a really effective and memorable, visually memorable metaphor that he used, a basket of quotes. Rapt attention. Towards the end of his speech, he said rapt attention, which stood out and my ears perked up when I heard that. It sounded really nice because I was in rapt attention at that point. Areas of improvement. One thing we do as Toastmasters a lot is that we use the word the when the word the is not necessary. For example, best of the friendships, not necessary. Best of friendships, best of friends, either of them will work. Best of the friendships is not important. Is not correct. I mean, not important. Making networking, we're just networking. You're not making networking. Making friendships, you're just making friends, or you're forming friendships. You're not making friendships. Friendships are like those connective tissue. You just form them. You don't make them. You can't actively go and make a friendship. You can form a friendship. Competition between themselves. The word between is a little bit like this, that you can only use between when you're talking about two things. Between the red book and the blue book, I prefer the blue book. That's what you can say. But when you have multiple choices, you have to say amongst. Between, given the green book, the blue book, and the red book, amongst them, I choose the green book. Like amongst is among many, while between is between two. So please make sure that when you know that you're talking about multiple things that you're choosing from or you're selecting between, please use the word amongst. If you only have two, then you can use between. So in the case of a story of three people, the competition amongst themselves is what is the right way of saying it. Here's another example of the word the being used superfluously. Relying on the Google. We don't rely on the Google, we just rely on Google. Somebody repeatedly said, you know what I mean. I'm going to question the value of such a phrase. Though the phrase itself is grammatically correct, I want to ask you to consider that it could be that the listener is not fully paying attention to what you're saying, and they might not know exactly what your train of thought is when you say, I know, you know what I mean, and do it repeatedly. So it's a little bit a speech shortcut to say that, oh yeah, you do my thinking for me and do my phrasing and do my work for me because you know what I mean. I would prefer that you explicitly state what you meant by that, though the grammar itself is right. So I'm not going to ping you on that. Before I close down, you close down a shop, you close down a process. When you're doing something yourself, before you close or before you end, you don't close down yourself. If you're the person doing it, you just close, you don't close down. Somebody also said, even before I begin. Before you begin is already the starting point of your activities. Like you can't do anything even before that. Like even before I begin is still before the beginning. So you just say before I begin. So even before I begin doesn't make any sense. So just say before I begin. Too many jargon. Jargon is like the word slang. You can use slang as a collective. Say this collective of words, this bunch of words is slang. But each individual word within them, there's nothing called the word idiot is slang. I'm just giving an example, but it's the word itself is a slang word. So when you say too many jargon or too many slang, you are counting something which is not countable. Jargon, slang, language, they're all collectives. So stick with too much jargon, too much slang. Jargons, you should not be talking about jargons either, because jargon is not countable. It's a collective. So you just say, my jargon is such and such. Many people like to say this. They like to cover up when they mean to say they cover. I'm going to cover this in my class today. I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to address these issues during the class today. They end up saying cover up. Cover up is to hide things, is to suppress information, while cover is to actually the opposite. You're actually sharing information. You want to cover territory. Think of it like going for a walk. I'm going to cover the distance between my house and my friend's house over the next 10 minutes. You're not going to cover up the distance, because that would mean putting a canopy on the road between your house and your friend's house. So cover is the word you want. Tailor by itself is a verb. So you can say, I tailored my speech to suit the audience. You don't have to say tailor make or tailor made. I mean, you do say tailor made, but that's to indicate that something was made to order. You ask someone to make it for you and they made it for you. But tailor make, to say that you're tailoring something, is incorrect. If you're the person doing it, I just tailored my speech, or I just tailored my evaluation. I just tailored my behavior to suit the audience. Could have been avoidable. That again sounds a little sketchy to me. I would go with could have been avoided, because avoidable is descriptive. It's describing something which can be avoided. This is avoidable. But what you're actually saying is, I did actively, or you should avoid something. It's an activity that you're indicating somebody should do. So could have been avoided is the better way of saying it. So always keep in mind what you're trying to say. Are you trying to describe a situation, in which case avoidable makes sense? Are you trying to indicate what activity should be done, or what action to take? Then avoided is the way to go. So that's what my feedback is.
Please excuse my intrusion, Toastmaster Sai, but I have to restrict your passion for the language because of the shortage of time. So I
Back
hope
to
you
you,
understand.
Toastmaster Sandhya, for for actually stopping Toastmaster Sai from talking. That's not a mean feat. It's not a mean feat to achieve. So you've achieved that, and you must definitely be given an award for that. And given that we are short on time, I am going to quickly give the stage back to the presiding officer. Quickly thank everyone who has played a role at today's meeting, especially Toastmaster Gandhar, who gave us such a lovely educational session. But I think, Gandhar, we have more of that offline after we officially close the meeting, because we want to do that on time. Over to you, presiding officer.
Thank you very much, Sandhya, and thank you very much, Cynthia, for doing your job so diligently. I appreciate it, though I was the person who was wasting everybody's time. So let me quickly launch the polls for meeting number 141. And while that is going on, while people are
Lost network. I think they've lost electricity.
Yeah, both the husband and wife are not able to.
Yeah, so they seem to be in the same premise. But I'll try to reach them.
I think both of them dropped out.
Just reaching out.
Yeah, so Gandhar, tell me, you were in my, like, since you're my batchmate.
Yeah, I'm a 2022 pass out as well.
2022
But
pass out, yeah. COVID batch.
most interestingly, I hadn't come across anyone from Somaya and Toastmasters.
Same.
Only maybe Somaya Toastmasters Club I knew, but they were all management fellows.
Was it there? Was it there?
Yes.
I'm not sure about management.
Okay,
Yeah.
guys, so just to let you know that both of them have lost network because of electricity loss. And so I would say this is a glitch, or maybe it's a sign that it's time up and, we need to give you back your evening. So on behalf of the Toastmaster of the day, rather the MC and the TMOD, I would like to thank each one of you, including our guests, for being there on hello. Yeah.
Where
So
is Saurabh?
yeah, so for being there and spending your precious time with us, giving us your feedback, giving us the kind of tips that we needed to be better, as well as for all the participation that we've had. So thanks a ton, and we will be in touch on WhatsApp for our regular communication. Good day and have a great week ahead. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.